Okay, so the last time I recorded a video, like, I don't know if this is chronologically when I'll be posting this video, but the last time I recorded a video, it was the video that makes sense before this one, where I talked about the rule set changes, right? And I was wearing this shirt, okay? This shirt. Because now I do content creation full time, so buy my merch, number one, and please subscribe if you haven't, please. Everyone's doing it. If you want to be cool, all you have to do is subscriber. It's easy. And if you want to support me, because I do this full time now, I quit my job to make content for you guys. Please subscribe. That'll make me happy. I said I would do a Dracovish cosplay at 200k subscribers. I thought that I would hit it the next day when I said that, but I don't have it yet. So yeah, Dracovish cosplay 200k. Please subscribe. Anyway, so I long story short, I was plugging my merch. Plug my merch. And then I finished recording the video. I took a little break. I went to shower. I came back, put the shirt back on so I could plug my merch, buy my merch. But in the last video, I talked about how I just shaved, and I took my shirt off to shaved, put my shirt on, recorded the video. There was hair in my shirt. Long story short, there's still hair in my shirt, and I'm upset about it. Anyway, today we're doing something that I said I would do last time, where I gave a kind of a quick overview of the Pokemon last time. The Season 3 VGC Legal Gigantamax Pokemon. But I thought I would go through and create a little, do a little tier list in terms of how good I think the Pokemon are. I don't know if we need 4 tiers. I think 3 tiers is probably, we'll leave 4 tiers, but I don't know if everything will be in them, but yeah. So I figured, yeah, why not, go through and talk about I talked about how some of the Pokemon could be good and how they could be used last time, but, this time I wanted to go through and talk about how I think they would compare relative to the other Pokemon, on the list. So, yeah, with that in mind, that's the premise, so let's just jump into it. Thank you for watching my videos, guys. By the way, it really does mean a lot. I hope I don't talk about it enough, but yeah, I really do appreciate y'all. Anyway, okay, so first of all, we have Charizard Gigantamax. So Charizard Gigantamax is here. He's already been legal, but now he gets solar power. So we're going to talk about specifically solar power Gigantamax Charizard. I think Gigantamax Charizard is probably an A tier Pokemon. It's very good. It was already very good with Blaze. The secondary effect is amazing. The 1/6 passive damage is really good. And solar power allows Charizard to function in a much more offensive capability, taking advantage of how much of a power increase you get for using solar power. So I do think it's A tier. I'm not going to put it in S tier just yet because it requires a lot of setup to get going. Not a lot of setup, but it requires a partner to set the sun for it, which can be taken advantage of and can kind of be gimmicky in my opinion. Maybe gimmicky is not the right word, but it's not always as consistent, maybe is the right way to say it. And with Incineroar trending upwards as well, I think that, or not trending upwards, with Incineroar being introduced, I think that it'd be a little rash to put Charizard any higher. But I do think it's an incredible Pokemon, and the addition, giving it solar power only helps it and you don't even have to use solar power, right? It's just another tool in the kit. So that's why I think Charizard is an A tier Pokemon. I think it's the secondary effect doing as much passive damage as it does, and Charizard actually being really fast for this metagame. There was a time where base 100 was slow to mid range, maybe not slow, but a lot back on the Kangaskhan years, a lot of things were around base 100 because that's where a lot of the Mega Pokemon were, Mega Evolutions were. Now base 100 is really fast for this format, and that's good because Charizard really wants to get an attack off before the opponent can move. And so because you really want at least one G-Max Wildfire off at some point in the game. So yeah, Charizard I think is a fair pick for A tier. Next up we have Alchemy. I'm gonna put Alchemy in the. I think I'm gonna be fair. I'm gonna be conservative, and I'm gonna say I think Alchemy is personally between B and C. I think because it hasn't had any results in its base form yet, I'm going to put it in C tier. I personally would probably trend to more towards B tier, but I think C or B are both fair for it. Alchemy, I just learned its Gigantamax move heals 1/6 damage on you and your partner Pokemon, which is a lot of health recovery. The main problem with Alchemy, and the reason why I don't have it higher, is okay, let's talk about the main selling points. Number one, Decorate is an incredible attack. It's unique to Alchemy. Thank goodness Smeargle's not in this game because I don't want to deal with Decorate Smeargle at all. Thank you. Especially with Moody Speed Boost. Let's not talk about it. Anyway, so Decorate's an amazing attack. And the secondary effect of Gigantamax Alchemy is very good. Don't get me wrong. The weaknesses of Alchemy that are the reason why I don't think it should be higher is that when you Gigantamax, you can't use Decorate, so you have to choose between supporting in that way and or Gigantamaxing. And number two, Alchemy it's not a very offensive Pokemon, so it's a little weird to Gigantamax being, it's like really, it doesn't get Moonblast or anything, so it feels like it should be more of a defensive Pokemon, and it's a little weird to Gigantamax a partner Pokemon to heal. Like, let's say I have like an offensive Pokemon in Alchemy, right? I could Gigantamax Alchemy for healing, but I could also just Gigantamax or Dynamax my other Pokemon for the 200% health increase, you know what I'm saying? And then I could decorate it. So I really do believe in Alchemy. I think it could definitely win a tournament or do very well at a tournament at the very least this season. But I think that I would need to see more in order to fairly put it higher up. And that's what I have to say about Alchemy. Next up, we have Orbital. I'm putting Orbital in D tier. I love Orbital as a Pokemon. I like the design. I really like it. I think it's another Pokemon that I think has a lot of potential. But we're going to be fair here. We're going to say, okay, Orbital has 0 usage, number 1. Stay hydrated, guys. It's really important. Orbital has had no usage so far, and although it has really good support moves like Screens and Trick Room, the simple fact of the matter is that it hasn't had any usage, and also the fact is that it's kind of in this weird thing where like you might want it for Trick Room, sure, but it's base 90 speed, which is again really fast for this format, faster than a lot of Pokemon. So I think Orbital could do super well. Actually, like I actually have a lot of faith in Orbital. Like I think Dual Screens could be good. You maybe can make a case for. I always am like, guys, let's use Sticky Webs, and they're always bad whenever I use them. So probably not Sticky Webs, though. I personally will of course test it as usual if I were going to use Orbital. The ability to set gravity is cool. Like the one thing about Orbital that maybe it might be a C tier mon. No, I'm gonna leave it in D, but like it might be C tier mon because like the thing is, it actually outspeeds Excadrill. So there are situations where you could do like Orbital Excadrill, and you could set Screens for Excadrill and Dynamax to Excadrill. Ow. Or I like crack my teeth together. You know when you do that? It doesn't happen to me very often, but it just happened here in video, so you guys all saw it. Or you could G-Max Orbital, like let's say I had Sandrush Excadrill, like Orbital T-Tar Excadrill, which actually is kind of good synergy because like Orbital's weak to flying, and they both, like T-Tar and Excadrill both resist it, and it's weak to Bug, and Excadrill resists it, and it's weak to Fire, and Tyranitar resists that. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, the other thing you could do is you could G-Max Orbital, set the gravity up, so then, you know, you could blow up Rotom Wash, for example, or Rotom Heat or something like that, or Togekiss you could hit with Earthquake or High Horsepower or something. So, I think Orbital has things it can do, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a bad Pokemon by any means. I'm just saying that you would have to, your Pokemon are supposed to do the work for you, and with Orbital, I'm not sure if Orbital would be doing the work for you, or you'd be doing the work for Orbital. So, to be fair, I'm putting it in D tier. Next up, we have Colosal. I'm putting Colosal in B tier. We're just evenly distributing the tiers so far. I think B tier for Colosal is fair. This might be B or C is probably where most people would put it. I'm going to put it in B. Colosal has had some usage so far, and it's, in my opinion, a pretty underexplored Pokemon. Like, Steam Engine's a great ability, and there's really interesting things you could do with it, and the G-Max move is incredible. Like, on the one hand, you're not able to set Sand, which is a little annoying, like, because Sand boosts Colossal special defense, but also the main special move you're worried about taking are water moves, and you can always set the Sun if you're really that worried about them, so I don't know. But I like we won a regional with Charizard Gigantamax form because of the how much damage the secondary effect of G-Max Wildfire did. So Colossal has that same secondary effect, but for rock types, and also, you know, we have to consider the format, right? Sun is going to be big this format, by the way, in my opinion. Thanks to Venusaur, but also they've just introduced Incineroar, so now we have, you know, let's say we wanted to use Charizard. Number one, Incineroar resists Charizard. Number two, Incineroars are immune to the effects of G-Max Wildfire. Colossal's another story, right? Colossal's G-Max move, you could maybe argue actually between, I think you could argue anywhere from A to C tier for Colosal. I'll put it in B tier. I'm reasonable, but yeah, you also, you know, you have a secondary effect that hits mostly everything in the metagame, except for Tyranitar, which, you know, you have to consider. But yeah, I think Colossal's G-Max move is incredible, and I think that it should have some usage for sure. I really do believe in Colosal a lot. I talked about this a lot in the last video, but Lapras is the clear S tier out of all these mons. Like, Lapras is head and shoulders above the rest. In my opinion, like, I could be wrong, of course. I haven't played with these Pokemon so far, but in theory, Lapras is a nightmare. And not like the good kind of nightmare. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Lapras is not. I feel like I could put that on a shirt. Like, It's not the good kind of nightmare. But anyway, Lapras is very threatening and very scary, and you have to really be careful about Lapras when you're fighting against Lapras, because Lapras is a very good Pokemon with a very good G-Max move, okay? Drink water, stay hydrated. What do you want me to say? It's 5 to 8 turns of incredible damage reduction. And it does damage, and it's a great design, and it sings, and it has great moves pool, and you can use Ice Shard, and you can use Freeze Dry, which is amazing, and you can set the rain, you can set the, well, you can't set the hail. You know, its stats are amazing, it's very bulky, you could run it with weakness policy and force your opponents to, like, make you super strong and reduce damage, or you could attack yourself and reduce damage. I don't know, I think Lapras is really, really good, and it's important to stay hydrated, so make sure you drink water, but also Lapras is really good, and a lot depends on the metagame in Pokemon in general, right? Like, I think Lapras is going to super encourage people to run Brick Break, and Psychic Fangs and stuff like that. Oh, Lapras picking up is bad for Dracovish. Oh, I'm quitting Pokemon. Anyway, I think it should be clear why Lapras is so broken. If you're not totally sure, if you want more, you can watch my video about the rules, which I released sometime before that I recorded earlier today, so that's all I can tell you about that. But yeah, check out that video if you're interested, because I go a little bit more into what each of the individual Pokemon can do. I go a little bit more into what Lapras can do. But yeah, basically the 5 to 8 turns of Aurora Veil is ridiculous, especially that it doesn't rely on Hail, and is a good Pokemon even if you don't Gigantamax it. So yeah. Next up is Kingler. Kingler. This is a C or a D tier Pokemon. I think if Orbeetle's in D, we should put Kingler in D. I believe in Kingler 100%. It's actually way faster than I realized. I think it's base 75 stat, or base 75 speed, which makes it actually surprisingly fast. And G-Max Foam Burst offering -2 speed on opponents is really good. I think there's some cool stuff that you could do with Kingler. It has some good stats. Like, maybe a Saltfish Kingler could be interesting, actually. Yeah, I think maybe a Saltfish Gigantamax Kingler could be good, because, and the speed control is really good. Like, that shouldn't be slept on. And Hypercutter, actually, I just realized, Hypercutter makes you immune to Intimidate. And that's good because it makes you immune to having your attack stat dropped, which is really good because Incineroar, you know, picking up is going to try and drop the attack stat of everything, especially Kingler, and having a move that is super effective can surely OHKO Incineroar and can offer speed control. I honestly might put Kingler in C tier, but just for the sake of being conservative with my picks, I'm going to say, you know, Kingler staying in D tier. But there's a lot that it can do, I think, and I do, like, both Orbital and Kingler, even though I've put them in the D tier, I think they could be good, especially Kingler. Like, Kingler I feel a little weird leaving in D tier, but that's fine. Next up is GRIMMSNARL. So GRIMMSNARL we're putting in the B tier, I think. I don't think it's as good as Charizard. In my opinion, I just don't think it's as good as Charizard. But it's still good, and it's still a good thing to have around. The reason for that is that it basically, like I was saying in my rules video discussion, it gives you the option of running offensive GRIMMSNARL, but you don't have to, right? You always have the option of still running the same GRIMMSNARL people have been using. Not that there's one, but, you know, running the more traditionally, like, support-oriented GRIMMSNARL, with different, you know, different supporting options and screens, or Thunder Wave Fake Tears, or Fake Out, or all that stuff, or combination, you know, or you can mix it up, or you can do a hybrid, right? You can say, okay, I'm not going to run Fake Tears, but I am going to run Fake Out, Thunder Wave, and then I'll run 2 dual stab, like GRIMMSNARL, and I'll be offensive, right? G-Max Snooze is a very good attack, but the 50% activation rate makes me a little wary of it, so it's very good. Like, if you're able to get attacks off with G-Max GRIMMSNARL, you're in good shape. It's also one of those things, I think something really interesting you could do with GRIMMSNARL is you could run Fake Out, Thunder Wave, Dark Move, and plus, or like more, like Thunder Wave, Dark Move, right? And 2 more, whatever you wanted. Like, you could even run screens, right? Well, oh, wait, I'm so dumb. Actually, maybe not. Like, because what you could do is you could Thunder Wave something, and then you could, like, to make your GRIMMSNARL, like, faster relatively, and then reassess the situation and be like, oh, like, okay, I know GRIMMSNARL is going to be moving first, or, like, you know, after one of their Pokemon before the other Pokemon, so I can max G-Max Darkness the other Pokemon. Like, let's say they have Excadrill and, oh, I don't know, like, Excadrill and, like, Arcanine, I don't know, just make something up, right? You could Thunder Wave the Arcanine, and then if you're like, oh, I didn't take any damage from the Excadrill, you could consider, like, G-Max snoozing the Excadrill, right? Not the best example, but I'm just kind of spitballing off the top of my head. Thunder Wave gets in the way of the snooze effect, but putting Yawn status on things, especially, like, if you hit a Gigantamax Pokemon, or Dynamax or Gigantamax Pokemon with G-Max snooze and you afflict them with Yawn, that's very good, because you know, it forces them to say, okay, either I'm going to waste my Dynamax or Gigantamax and switch out, or I'm going to take a nap, right? And there are ways around it, but, yeah. GRIMMSNARL could probably be an A tier as well. But since nobody's run offensive GRIMMSNARL yet, I'm going to leave it in B tier. Okay, now the apples look the same and I can't tell them apart. So I'm going to say this one is Appleton and this one is FLAPPLE, okay? First one is Appleton. So Appleton... okay, so Appleton hero status. I'm going to put Appleton with Alchemy. Like, even though Appleton hasn't had as much success, it just has much better, like... I think it has a lot more going for it than Alchemy. Thick Fat is also nice, by the way, because Incineroar picking up is, you know, going to affect things. And being able to resist Incineroar is pretty good. Resist Fire. As a grass type is pretty good. We haven't had much grass types, but their typing is really good against like sand and like Excadrill and stuff, and the water types like Rotom Wash and Milotic, which seem to be picking up. So, yeah. So I think that this thing could be okay. The effect heals all status conditions, which doesn't sound amazing to me, but I feel like maybe there's a way you could do it, right? Maybe there's certain teams that benefit from it, or you can run like... Wait, did they take Psycho Shift out of the game? They probably did. You could do some cool stuff with it. Like, you could run Rest in a Pokemon as a last ditch, and then, like, plan on, you know, using, G-Max Sweetness or Tartness. I don't know which one's which, but anyway, yeah, to wake them up. Stuff like that. So, I do feel like this Pokemon has potential. I think there is potential in all Pokemon. But this one, I would feel a little weird putting in D tier. Honestly, I feel like... That was very loud for me. I don't know if it was loud for you. I think you could reasonably switch Kingler and Appleton, but I'm gonna leave them where they are for now. Toxtricity, I know this image is weird. I'm sorry, I messed it up. Toxtricity, I think is a D tier mon. That might be controversial, but I honestly think maybe I should put it in C tier. Does it belong in C or D? They're both. I'm gonna put it in C tier. The ability to paralyze things and the ability to inflict status could be okay, but the real thing is, if somebody just found a way to make sure Toxtricity always was moving first, it'd be amazing, right? It'd be really good. And Toxtricity allowing you to... Like, poison types are kind of being slept on right now, in my opinion, because... Just because there's not that many good poison types, but Toxtricity allows you to boost you and your partner's special attack stat, and that's very dangerous, in my opinion. The real thing is that Sand is bad for Toxtricity. It's very weak to Excadrill, and it doesn't do much damage to Tyranitar, so... I don't know. I don't even know if you want to Gigantamax it that much, but... You could do some interesting things with it. So the ability to, like, if it was like Pikachu's Gigantamax move where it always paralyzed, I would say okay, definitely C or B tier. But since you could roll poison, it makes me a little nervous. I don't know. So like Toxtricity is just so volatile as a Pokemon. There's so much like that needs to go right for it to work. But when it works, it seems very dangerous. So I don't know. I could see it working. I could see it being bad. I'm putting it in C tier. I would also argue D tier for this Pokemon, but you have to choose one. Next up is FLAPPLE. That's a D tier Pokemon if I've ever seen one. Sorry, FLAPPLE. I don't know. FLAPPLE, he flapping. I don't know. Like, lowering the foe's evasion is just frankly not good enough, and the base 70 speed is embarrassing. And I'm embarrassed about it on FLAPPLE's behalf. Hustle is a great ability when you're going to Dynamax or Gigantamax, but, like, there are so many good Pokemon in this format. And, like, if your opponent is Dynamaxing, like, Togekiss or Excadrill or Tyranitar or Conkeldurr, and you're Dynamaxing FLAPPLE, I just feel like you're going to have a hard time. I don't know. There are some things you could do with it, but overall, I don't expect to see much FLAPPLE at all this season. Especially with Incineroar coming back, right? I keep forgetting that now I have to think about Incineroar, right? Grass types are good, but FLAPPLE is super frail, by the way, which kind of... I always feel like if a Pokemon is frail enough, it doesn't function as its typing, right? Like, at Regionals, we were like, Duraludon is not a Steel-type Pokemon, right? Because with a Steel-type Pokemon, you're like, okay, I can take hit from, like, this type, this type, this type. Like, I can deal with Fairy types, whatever. Duraludon, like, on the special side, even on the physical side, like, it doesn't function as a Steel-type. It's very frail. So, I feel kind of similarly about FLAPPLE, where, like, I don't feel like a FLAPPLE's... I don't feel like it functions as a Grass type. I feel like it functions as just, like, a I get KO'd type. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't believe in FLAPPLE. You could do some interesting things with it. Like, you could do Life Orb, Max Airstream off of Wing Attack, or maybe Fly, and do stuff like that, but, like, I don't see I don't know. Like, it's another case of, like, I feel like you are doing more of the work for the Pokemon than the Pokemon is doing for you. And especially now that we get Incineroar back. So, yeah. Like, I like Appleton more because Appleton can, like, set up Iron defenses or Leech Seed Incineroar and, like, heal off, and it resists. If you're on Thick Fat, it resists Fire typing, and so, like, I don't know, maybe you can, like, you know, kind of be null against it and be annoying in front of it and set up in front of it. But FLAPPLE, like, what are you going to do? Like, max dragon it to lower its attack as it U-turns or parting shots out? I don't know. So yeah, I don't believe in FLAPPLE. And last but not least is HATTERENE. I'm putting HATTERENE in A tier. Like I mentioned in my other video, I was talking about how Gmax HATTERENE is often paired with DD, but even if it's not paired with DD, right? Its max Psychic type move sets up Psychic Terrain, which is good, which will then power up future Psychic type attacks for the team. It'll block from priority, which is in general pretty good in Trick Room. HATTERENE is a Trick Room Pokemon almost exclusively. Excuse me, but Max Fairy for HATTERENE would set Misty Terrain, which is bad. Truth be told, like Misty Terrain it can be good. It can be good. Like the thing is that like sometimes you'll get Yawned, or sometimes you'll get Sleep Powdered, or sometimes you'll get like Gmax Volt Crash and Pikachu, or you'll play against Befuddle, Butterfree, stuff like that. But the thing is that HATTERENE's ability, Magic Bounce, will bounce back Yawns and Sleep Powders and Thunder Wave and that kind of thing. So I feel like it's a little silly to worry about status with it. Though of course they can always target the partner, but that's another story. Anyway, Misty, instead of setting Misty Terrain, what HATTERENE's Gmax move does is it confuses both opponents. And I think both opponents. I haven't checked. I said I would check. I didn't check. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. But I believe it confuses both opponents. It might be a percentage roll. I'll have to check. But even if it, let's just say it has a 50% chance to confuse one of the opponents, although I doubt, I imagine it's more than that. It's still very good, in my opinion. It's still a very good attack because not like just using a powered up Fairy type move, because HATTERENE, like its strongest Fairy type moves are like Dazzling Gleam and Draining Kiss, which are not very strong. So being able to turn that spread move into a single target a Fairy move that doesn't overwrite your Psychic Terrain on its own is very good. And then when you add in Confusion, either guaranteed or percentage based, Confusion is a very good status condition. Don't like let's be very clear about that. Confusion is like it's never gonna hurt you to confuse your opponent. Well, anything can hurt you in some situations, but in general, confusing your opponent is like now like you can mess with like their plans, and if you get like it can give you like basically a free turn of no damage, or a free nullifying one attack of your opponent's. Like, if you're like, okay, this Pokemon is let's say it only confuses the target, right? If you're saying, okay, a third of the time, 1 out of every 3 turns, my opponent is just going to fail to attack and damage themselves, that's very powerful. Like, that should not be underestimated. That's extremely, extremely powerful. And you're still doing damage as well. It's not even like, hey, I'm going to put this condition on you that, like, is 1/3, and, like, I'm not going to do any damage. It's like, oh, by the way, as a secondary effect, you might lose one of your Gmax turns, your Dynamax turns, right? Or you might lose all 3, right? Or, you know, you might do nothing, but again, it's still good to keep your terrain on the field or to not overwrite your terrain. So, and it also puts pressure on your opponent, and it includes variance that's mostly only going to help you, right? Like regular Gmax HATTERENE, or Dynamax HATTERENE, for example, was still like a solid Pokemon, right? And it's, you know, it's still doing damage and it's still like playing its game, and the opponent doesn't even have to worry about that confusion. So, I don't know. I think Gmax HATTERENE is pretty good. So, not as good as Lapras, but, yeah. So, I think that's pretty much it. HATTERENE, very good, in short. So yeah, I think that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you want to see more of these from me, or if you disagree with anything on my list. Let me know. Like, again, for some of the lower tiers, I think they could be good. I tried to be kind of fair, and not include, like, oh, like this, you know, my own personal, like, niche cases where I think things could be good. But in general, for the majority of people watching, this is probably pretty close to a fair tier list of how good the Pokemon are. And, you know, nothing's going to be perfect, but, yeah, I hope you found this interesting and it was helpful for you in deciding like what you think about these new Gmax forms. I'm really excited to use some of these. I think my favorite thing about Season 3 is that, unlike Season 2, which added a bunch of mostly useless like Gigantamax Pokemon, not entirely useless, right? But the majority of the Gigantamax Pokemon that were added were more or less useless. It's not the case this time. Like we even if you look at the top 5 on this list, those are 5 very, very probably like somewhat meta-defining Pokemon or effects of their Gmax moves. Like it shoots Lapras up in the rankings of how good it is. Like it allows Charizard more depth. It makes HATTERENE way better. It makes Colosal way better, and it gives another dimension of GRIMMSNARL, right? Even in the top 5 of this 11 Pokemon list. Oh, there's 11. I thought there's 10. Anyway, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching. Again, buy the merch. If you made it this far, leave a like on the video. And and I'll see you next time for the next one. Bye.